Hey everyone, Grandmaster Ben Finegold here from the Chess Center again. Yesterday I figured out how to record in high definition 1080. So my phone video where I was walking around the Chess Center 2 videos ago, that was in 720 from my phone. And the one yesterday from my computer was the first time that was in 1080. So, wow, you could really see me. I played in a tournament and I won my first game, which we'll look at now. Then I played Alonso Zapata in round 2, and we drew very quickly. I had black. And then I came to the Chess Center here and worked and did stuff. Went back to the third round, was black again, black 2 against Ben Moon, who's 2360 USCF. And we also drew quickly, and I came back here and did some more work. Tournament's sort of strange. The prizes are based on 130, and there's about 70 players, so they're going to cut that in half. Still good prizes. And there's only 6 players in my section, and there's 5 rounds. And 3 of the players in round 1 took half-point buys. And one of the players, there's 2 schedules, a 2-day and a 3-day schedule. The 3-day schedule, only 1 player showed up, Alonso Zapata, Grandmaster here. And he got a full-point buy. He was the only player there. So in round 1, I was the only person who played, me and my opponent. So that was weird. Anyway, there's only 2 people in the tournament I haven't played yet, and I have 2 rounds left. And they're both about 2050-ish. If one of them or both of them was draw, maybe I'll play one of you at home. I don't know. I guess I could play somebody twice. Something funny is going to happen. So I don't know how Alonso Zapata did tonight. He's played Cindy G. Probably he won. I don't know. Anyway. So it's a funny tournament because there's so few players in the top section. And even in the other sections, there's not so many. Okay, so I was white against Kevin Wang. I guess it's Wang if you're Asian. You pronounce it correctly. Now, I must note there is a much higher rated Kevin Wang or Wang who doesn't live in Georgia. The higher rated one is about 2430 USCF. This one's 2203 USCF. He looks to me like he's 14 or 15. So I guess I'll find out tomorrow. I'll ask how old he is. He's definitely between 12 and 17. I guarantee it. So I'm going to say 14, 15, because that's sort of in the middle. And he broke master, funnily enough, at the Aloha tournament, the one I had trouble getting paid from. That's where he finally broke 2200. And it seems like over the last year he gains 10, 15 points a tournament pretty consistently. So he's an upcoming junior player in Atlanta. Okay, so let's get to the game. I'm white. And he played the King's Indian. And here I had a little bit of a think, not my strong suit. And I was like, all right, I'll play the main lines. Sometimes I play knight f3 and bishop g5, and sometimes I play knight f3 and bishop f4. Oh yeah, yesterday when I was showing you my pen and pencil, I remember I watched the video. I had this pen here down here, and I was like, look at this pen, even though the webcam is here. So I was like, look at this pen. But actually, I guess you should look at the pen this way, because you can see the writing on it. And then the pencil's the same, except it's a pencil. So don't forget it's a pencil. I held the pencil a little bit higher so you can see it a little bit. Anyway, it's in high definition, so ooh. All right, and I decided, all right, I'll play a main line and we'll see what happens. And he played this slightly unusual knight a6. E5 is the most common move. And I face this. And I always play rook e1, bishop f1 when I don't know what to do. And I know bishop e3 is the other move. In all these positions where you can play bishop e3 and they play knight g4, I don't really know theory in those lines, so I just don't do that. So bishop e3 and rook e1 are both good. I play rook e1 and bishop f1. And I didn't know this position, but when I looked into the database after to see what good players play, there was one of my games. I don't remember that game at all. It was played in 1993 against a player who actually changed his name. He used to be Vadim Tsemekman, and he was one of the top juniors in the U.S. in the 90s. And he changed his name to Eric Torman. And his USCF got to about 25-20. And I thought bishop g4 was a mistake, but it's the most common move. d5 is the most common. Kramnik played bishop e3, I think, against Shirov, and he won. d5 is more common. And I actually had this position in the aforementioned game in 93, and my opponent played queen b6, and that game ended in a draw. I don't know. Nobody's ever played queen b6 before or since. The computer says white's better. It likes the way I'm playing. So, okay. He played knight d7. That's never been played. Knight e8 has been played with, the idea of, I guess, of playing f5 at some point. Problem with knight d7 is you're undefending the pawn on d6, so sometimes knight b5 gains a tempo, and then a7 is weak, and come into c7 later. And sometimes his knight wants to go to d7, like when he goes to c5. But okay, I went with the two bishops, and after f5, I was in a conundrum. I thought I was playing in a chess tournament, but I was actually in a conundrum. So I have two rules I can follow here, and normally I would play the normal rule, always play e takes f5, and the computer loves e takes f5. And if you have a strong engine and you leave it on here for a while, it goes back and forth between the move that I played and e takes f5. And it says rook b1 is okay also. But also I have the rule always retreat. And all the variations I was analyzing, my queen did not belong on f3 because his rook's on f8 and taking on e4 gains a tempo. So I played queen d1. And I would play queen d1 again. I like queen d1. Bishop f6. One idea is to trade off the dark square bishops, which gets rid of my two bishops. Now the computer really wants me to play e takes f5 and then queen h5. I almost did that. Yeah, I almost played this. And I like white a lot because I have the two bishops and it's sort of opening up. But I don't know, I didn't feel like doing that. I almost did it. I played a3 because I thought his knight on a6 is bad and will make it more bad. And then if my queen ever does run away, he can't play knight b4, threatening knight c2, because I stopped it. And I can play b4 at my leisure and make his knight worse. A3 is okay. And now I made a really bad move. I went from big advantage to equal, basically. I should definitely take on f5 now, and I almost did. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, so ef5, gf5, b4, e4. I wasn't sure if I should play bishop d2 or bishop b2 here. I'm still not sure. But the computer's saying something like 0.8 for white. So, I mean, I had the two bishops. It's opening up. And his knight's going to have to probably go back to a6. It's not a good square. But okay, black had some squares too. His bishop on f6 is good. The knight's coming to e5. I just didn't want to give him all that. So I played b4, which the computer says is terrible. And after all these trades, it says it's just equal. I thought I was much better, but I was wrong. So rook c4, I want to get the c file. He can't play rook c8 because I take on c8, and his queen is doing too much. And if he takes my bishop, I double on the c file. That seems nice. My bishop's on f1. Right, yay. Okay, so he played knight b6, which the computer gives. And I almost played bishop takes g5 and rook c7, and the computer doesn't like that. It says he plays something like queen f6, maybe, threatening f2. And it says white has no advantage at all. And I decided not to do that after a long thought. I played rook c2 because I really couldn't find a good move here for my opponent. I mean, he can't play rook. Well, he could play rook c8. Then if I take, he takes with the knight. So he could do that. He surprised me. He took on c1, but the engine says that's fine. They're giving me the c file. He threatened my f2 pawn. It's defended by my rook on c2. That's why in this position I played rook c2 to defend my f pawn. And now I want to play rook c7 every move, but I can't because my f pawn's hanging. So I thought about playing queen d2, and then I could try to play rook c7. But I decided if my bishop was on this diagonal, I would control c8, right, Karen? And my bishop could go to e6 and defend my d-pawn and put him in check and gain a tempo. And my bishop's, pretty awesome. So I played g3 because I can play h4 and bishop h3. And also I can tickle him on the king side by messing up his pawns, which I did. Rook c8's okay. h4. The computer says these moves are all good. Queen f5 is good. Stopping bishop h3. So I play queen d2. And I play queen d2 because now I'm defending my f pawn. I can finally play, John Nunn's collinear move, rook c7. Okay, and he took. And in this position, the computer says he finally made a mistake. What the computer suggests looks really scary to me. It wants him to just do this and get counterplay here, but I mean, you're giving up your queen side basically. But it's saying knight d7 is equal. So I guess black has to go into all-out attack mode and go up his queen side. Knight d7, knight f6, with the idea of knight e4, knight g4. and just attack on the king side. Okay, but he played rook c8, which I sort of half expected. And this ending's worse for black. First of all, you all know my theory if you watch my videos. Queen and bishop's better than queen and knight. Every book and every grandmaster and every IM you talk to says queen and knight is better. But I think the top 10 or 20 players in the world would agree with me that queen and bishop is usually better, but it's sort of a secret. And, well, you'll see here how it's sort of obvious in this position. He took with the queen. He doesn't want me to get the c file if he takes with the knight. And I play h5, one of the reasons I played h4. So I want to isolate a pawn on the king side, make his king a little bit open. His knight on b6 isn't very good. Play queen f5, takes, and I played queen c1. I thought I was being clever, but the engine isn't very impressed by that move. I want to play queen c7, of course. And if his queen starts defending, then I want to go over here. That's why I played queen c1, so I could go in both directions. The engine says after queen d7, he's fine. That even if I play queen g5 or queen h6, it's like, who cares? Okay. Now, some of you at home have been wondering, hasn't this pawn been hanging for a while? Or if you're a Family Guy fan, you would say a while. Well, taking that pawn's dangerous because you're, on this open diagonal. I have a bishop that can attack you and a queen, and you're going to lose your knight. So he killed two birds. As a vegetarian, I was against it. He played king g7. So now he can't take my d pawn because he's not lined up there. And he's stopping queen h6 forever, and he's defending his g pawn. So if his queen ever starts running around, I can't attack it with tempo. And king g7 is an error because after check, attacking everything, he has to play queen d7, and now queen b8 is good. And this pawn is basically defenseless. If you play a6, I can take it because of the pin. And knight c8 is pretty suspicious. That's just terrible. So he did what I think what the computer said was right. He took my center pawn, and I took his pawn on a7. And this is a really bad endgame for black because I have a queenside majority. And once my A and B pawns start going, knights are notoriously bad at stopping side pawns. He has two isolated pawns on b7 and g6, and his d pawn's potentially weak. And I have the queen and bishop. And yeah, my pawns and bishop are really well placed. My pawns control the dark squares, and my bishop controls the white squares. And some of you probably think they're green and red. What do I know? Okay, so he played knight c3 after long thought. And one of my intentions here was to play bishop a6 because it's cute looking. But unfortunately, knight b5 is reasonable. And I thought I saw another good move. But maybe that was the good move I saw. But anyway, luckily bishop g2 is very strong, obviously threatening b7. b7's pinned. And the obvious move for black is to play d5. You can't play e4, blocking my bishop. Boy, you really can't play e4. I was right. You can't play e4, blocking my bishop, because queen d4 check is a fork. That's the really good thing about white's position and why queen and bishop work well together. My queen controls the dark squares, my bishop controls the white squares. So I control every square. Okay, so after bishop g2, d5 is pretty obvious. And now if you play queen e3 with a fork, then black can simply play queen c7, defending them both. So I play queen c5. And I'm threatening the knight, and the obvious defense is c3, but that loses the e-pawn with check. So yeah, it's hard to save your knight and save your d-pawn because your knight's defending your d-pawn. And if you play queen c6, which defends everything, now your e-pawn's indefensible. I check and I take it. Okay, so he played knight b5, and I thought a long time here. And I was almost convinced I'm playing a really bad move. I'm not losing after the move, but it gives all my advantage away. I wanted to play bishop takes d5 with the idea of knight a3, bishop e4. And I'm like, well, this has to be winning. His knight's trapped, his e-pawn's hanging, and he has 3 weak pawns. So I have to be winning. But then I realized if I take on d5, he can play the move b6. And I can't take on b6 because my bishop's hanging. If I play queen c6, he trades queens and my a-pawn's hanging. If I play queen c4, he plays knight takes a3, attacking my queen. So I don't like this position anymore. So I saw b6, which was lucky. Otherwise, I might have played bishop takes d5. Okay, if I can't play bishop takes d5, I don't want to play queen takes d5 and trade queens and lose my a pawn and try to win a pawn up endgame because I might not win it. I might win it, but might not. So I played a4, which is the best move, and he defends everything. I didn't win a pawn, but my queenside pawns are advancing. If he moves his d pawn, he loses his b pawn, and he can't move his knight because his knight's defending his d pawn, and his queen is defending his knight, and my 2-to-1 majority is getting pretty close to promoting. So he played sort of the obvious move, e4. This blocks my bishop, and now he can play like knight e6, for example. Can't play knight e6 here because his d pawn's insufficiently defended then. Okay, and now I played the best move. So pause your video, and white has more than one move to maintain the advantage, but after this move I'm just winning. So pause your video and try to find the best move for white while I look at my wonderful chess center. Wow, it's just wonderful. Okay, and the answer is, drum roll. Well, that's probably really annoying on the video when I do that. Bishop h3. And he thought a long time here. And the computer says I'm winning, so it doesn't really matter what he does. The idea is I'm trying to kick his queen off of my b pawn. And the reason is I want to play a5 because I want to make a queen, but I can't play a5 because my b pawn's hanging. So if he plays like queen d8, for example, which keeps everything protected, then I can start pushing my queenside pawns. So he took my bishop, I took with check, and he's hoping I take on b7, and taking on b7 is fine. Then he plays e3, and there's lots of complications. I don't like complications, so I got rid of his pawns. Now he can't play e3 because I take with the queen. So I'm sure many moves win here. I was going to play check, and then if king h8, I check and take with the queen. And if king h6, I do the same thing. I don't know if this is what the computer does, but it's obvious win. So he can't play e3, and he played queen g4. And I thought a long time here, but I was starting to get into time trouble, and there's no escape. It was game in 90. And I just started checking. I could take on b7 with check, which I eventually did later after making a lot of preamble checks. The thing is, he can never let me trade queens, because then my queenside wins. So, for example, king h6 is a blunder, because I check. And these guys are real strong. If you go here, it doesn't matter. I break through. Okay, so he can never let me trade queens. So he kept moving his king where I couldn't trade queens. And here he has to play king g8. If he goes to h6 or h7, h6 or h8, then I play queen h4 check. Okay. And now, again, he can't go to h7 because of queen h4 check. And here he has to play king g8. If he plays to the f file, I play queen f4. And if he plays to e6, I have queen c8 skewering. I guess he can go to e8, I think. Yeah, and then I would check and take with check like I... Yeah, actually... Yeah, that's right. Which I did anyway. Okay. And now he goes to h6. And I could have done this like 8 moves ago, but I check, and then did it. Okay, now he's threatening perpetual. If it was his move, he would draw. He has checks on these 3 squares, and I can't do anything about it. So I play queen e7, and that stops him from playing the check on this square because I have queen h4. And it stops e3 because I take it. So now I'm ready to queen. Yay. Okay, check. And again, he can't play queen check on h5 because of queen h4. I expected queen takes a4 here, and then I was going to start pushing this guy. And if he ever attacks my pawn, I can defend it with check, with tempo. So I'm not that worried about that. Also, if my pawn's on b6, I can play sometimes queen f6, defending them both. Yeah. And he has to make sure that we never trade queens. But I think queen takes a4 is the best chance, although the computer is already saying something like +8, because it knows there's no perpetual, and I'm going to make a queen. Play queen f3. I checked and played queen f4. Obviously, he didn't trade queens. Now he wants to play e3 check, which doesn't matter because I can play queen f3 then, but I stopped it anyway. Check. Can't trade queens. Queen c3, defending against queen f3 check. Now I'm threatening mate in 2. Queen check and queen h4 mate. It's never too late to get mated. Queen d5. Check. And now he has no checks, no counterplay, no nothing. Time to queen. Hooray! And now his queen is actually on the best square. It defends his pawn, it stops this pawn, and it stops this pawn. So you can't get better than d5. So I just moved his king and said, what are you going to do? And I was like, what am I going to do? Good question. Every move wins, but I played the quickest win. And I had about 4 minutes on my clock, so I couldn't think forever. And this isn't really a puzzle because every move wins. But I played a5. Obviously, if I play a6, it's over, so he has to take it. And then I play b7. And now the truth hurts. So you have to stop my pawn from queening. And I guess those are your options. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. I don't see any other options. Okay. And against all 5 of those moves, queen a7 is good. In fact, queen a7 may be the best move against all of those moves. Yeah. Because I'm threatening to queen with discovered check, which is what happened in the game. Yeah. So he played queen b5, and I played queen a7, and I'm threatening to queen with check. So you don't have any kind of counterplay anywhere because I'm going to be up a queen before you even check me. So after queen a7, then he resigned. So that was my round 1 game. My rounds 2 and 3 games you don't want to see. They were 9 moves and 5 moves. I wanted to get back and work at the chess center. I had black in those games. There's only 6 players in the tournament, so I figured, okay, I'll play tomorrow. Tomorrow, assuming nobody withdraws and there's legal pairings to be made, cross fingers, I'll play 2 players rated about 2,050. I'm definitely getting white in round 4 because I had 2 blacks in a row, and round 5 is a toss-up. If I even play round 5, I don't know. Maybe everybody withdraws. Okay, and then we open for the first time ever on Saturday next week, September 9th. Please come to our grand opening, 2500 Old Alabama Road, Suite 11, Roswell, Georgia. Go to our website, atlchessclub.com. And we're getting the events registration page up. When I say we, I mean our web guy. And our web guy should get a lot of kudos. It's Eric Rosen. He's an international master. And while he's been traveling all over the world playing chess and trying to get GM norms and gain rating points, he's fixing our website. He's our web guy. So hopefully by our grand opening and before, you can register for all of our events online at the events registration page. I think we'll make an announcement when that becomes live, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Cross our fingers. And like that. But you can still donate. That page has been up for a long time. atlchessclub.com/donate. The more you donate, the more you learn. I'm making lots of videos. Rawr! So don't forget it. If you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I posted some funny pictures last night or this morning, one of them, of this room 4 or 5 months ago. That was actually pretty funny. And somebody said, like, oh, you took a jail and made it a chess room, because it wasn't a jail, it was just looked a little suspicious. So when you put a lot of hard work in, you can get a lot done. And I didn't do the hard work, but I saw people doing it, so I was like really impressed. Right, Karen? And she smiled. She said, I did all the hard work. That's exactly what she said. Okay, and she's working right now. We're here till like 2 in the morning every day, so I figure I'll make a video instead of sleeping on the couch. But yeah, the couch is well slept on. So, all right, see you guys next time. Don't forget to come to the grand opening September 9th at noon. Blitz tournament at 1. Until next time, this is Grandmaster Ben Finegold signing off. Bye, everyone. Boo, Trump.